Hi there, welcome back to the channel. My name is Fred Macedo and I'm here with another message in this beautiful scenery. I hope you have a good day or a good night. God bless you. Before I begin, I want to clarify that I follow the Spiritist doctrine quoted by Allan Kardec, which is considered a promise of the Christ that he would send us a promised comforter who would teach us all things and remind us what he had said and has been lost. The doctrine has as its pillars the existence of God, the immortality of the soul, the plurality of existences, the plurality of inhabited worlds, and the communicability of the spirits. Have you ever noticed that sometimes we think we haven't made any progress in our lives? That doesn't exist. The experience we go through are always positive from a learning perspective. Even when we make mistakes, our conscience reinforces negative obligations or abstentions and the way to correct them when possible. We should take advantage of the time we still have to repair actions that have caused harm to others. The Master Jesus said to go and reconcile with your enemy as you walk with him. What he meant by that is that we should make the most of this life while we are here interacting with others on this planet, as after passing away, the chance for repair may take time, as we don't know how long we will have to wait for a new opportunity on earth, which is very precious. While on earth we think we have all the time in the world, but when it ends we often feel it wasn't enough, and sometimes we end up in revolt due to our strong attachments to material things, people, possessions, and the roles we play. In each life, our role qualitatively changes. We become parents, children, siblings, husbands and wives. This shift in perspective ultimately favors us, considering that a challenge that was difficult as parents, for example, may be easier as children. The truth is, we never know when our reckoning will come. Then we will understand a situation enough to change our attitudes. Everything around us, situations, things, people, serves one purpose only: to test our moral and weaknesses. Without this rich, detailed environment, there would be no progress. If those who still occasionally do wrong only lived in spiritual cities, as nosso lar, where everything is good and organized, our progress would be minimal. Why? Because it's through adversities, disturbances, resulting from our own actions that we gather the necessary strength and conviction to begin changing. Thus, the suffering we experience are never useless. They reinforce that what we shouldn't do. What many people still haven't understood is that there isn't a law of suffering, a need to be penalized for our conduct. Understand that pain isn't useless but can be unnecessary depending on our actions. Everything we do, for good or ill, has consequences that invite reflection in this lifetime. However, there are many cases of people who choose to suffer out of sheer belief and ignorance, thinking they are redeeming the wrong they did with their own suffering. Another misconception. Let's talk a bit about our achievements. How far we have come simply by choosing reasoned faith over imposed and dogmatic faith. Spiritism isn't a cure-all for all evils, a miraculous pill that we end our pains and sufferings. For Jesus promises the promise resolver. Jesus didn't promise us the promise resolver, but the promise comforter. This means that Spiritism doesn't solve our problems, but offers us the precious knowledge of the spiritual laws that govern us, whether we know them or not, and that govern our material, moral, and spiritual lives. Spiritism explains why we suffer and simultaneously provide a secure roadmap to follow to improve our life conditions, whatever they may be. We must understand that enlightenment is a personal, non-transferable, and non-delegable task, depending on the knowledge we accumulate and our willingness to change. Interestingly, we only change either when we suffer a lot or when we study and become aware, giving us a chance to convince us. The time of physical evidence of the existence of the spiritual world or of phenomena passed at least 150 years ago. Today, individuals should allow themselves to have faith based on what they know, read, and feel. As for those who don't believe, no proof will be sufficient. Many people are lazy and attached to their own convictions, preferring simpler ideas of salvation and condemnation because they aren't prepared to take responsibility for their actions. They don't want to put in the effort, read, investigate, or even reason, believing they are past the time to reshape their beliefs. The truth is changing is hard. Striving to be better, praying, being vigilant, regularly attending to a spiritist center or a church, not speaking ill of others, etc. It's much easier to live as most people do, without much thought, without higher level of questioning. All of this is hard work because it is an addition to everything we already do in our daily lives. And we don't have time or patience, blah, blah, blah. It's a shame that there are endless justifications for not changing and so few reasons that open our eyes and draw our attention. Do you understand why we still need the crutches of pain and suffering? Our scale of understanding still tilts toward the easier, the lesser effort. We judge our actions by their conformity with others. If others are bad, we are not so good. It pleases us, making us believe we're doing enough and that we are superior, thus stiffening our progress. Those who believe that doing much leaves little desire to do more. When we read about a superior spirit who has walked much further than us, we perceive the humility in their words when they mention not having done everything they could, and that there is still much to redeem. What should we think of ourselves, who have just opened our eyes, who have just started to have a minimum of discipline? There is much more to do. Let's be grateful for the opportunity, realizing that we have already changed a lot, and that our journey continues upwards. A fraternal hug from our spiritual friend. Thank you all for tuning in. Until the next message.